Okay. Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm joined by Tommy from MUFC Fan TV. He's also been on the Devil's Terrace as well. We're going to talk a little bit about Manchester United and their top four hopes going into the remainder of the season. We're also going to talk a little bit about Jose Mourinho and talk a little bit about the youth team and some of the youth players as well. So we've had that fantastic victory over Manchester City in the Manchester Derby, and it's now put us in with a chance, at least given us a good chance of getting top four, because had we not got the victory, it would have really put a dampering hopes on that top four position, because we'd have been, well, certainly if we'd lost, we'd have been quite a few points behind Manchester City. Do you think it's given us a realistic chance now of getting top four? And who do you think are the main challenges for that position now?
Well, I said a long time ago that it was between United, City, and obviously West Ham. I said it on the Devil's Terrace in a few live streams, and the general perception then was that United were out of it. There was no way back. But now, after that win at the Etihad, I can see it being that three-horse race that I talked about even more. And the thing is, but all three teams have got difficult games to go to. You've got to play Arsenal, West Ham have got to play us, etc., etc. So there's a lot to play for yet. And I think it's going to be a thrilling race till the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. Who would be your favourites for that top four? Because going by the bookies, Manchester City still remain favourite to finish fourth ahead of Manchester United, and West Ham seem to be the outsiders. But at this moment in time, West Ham seem to be playing the best football out of the three. So who would be your favourite out of the three? Who would you say would be the most likely to get that spot right now?
Now, I'm going to sound really biased, but I do fancy United, purely because with this win at the Etihad, the key word for me is momentum. And if United can build on that with a win against Everton after the international break, then I think we'll turn the corner and we'll be on a winner. City, they're obviously in free fall right now with the manager knows he's going, and I think their entire squad's packed in. And West Ham are a funny old team, because some days they'll look brilliant and some days they'll look woeful. They look more brilliant than woeful this season, but they've still got the odd ropey performance in them. We saw it against Bournemouth earlier this season when they got turned over. So they are capable of having an off day, as are the other two teams in the race. So, as I said before, it's far from over.
Yeah, I've definitely got to agree with you. I think that I'm actually a lot more confident now after getting that victory, even though it wasn't the best of performances. But any victory in that game was vital for us. And I do feel a lot more confident that we can get that top four, because no one's really putting a massive run together. And if we can just up our win percentage just a few percent, then we should be able to get that. I mean, obviously we've got to go to West Ham, but people are saying that West Ham have had a fantastic season. But if you look on the other side, everyone's saying that Manchester United have been completely terrible. So, and we're still on the same points as them. So I know our goals at the start of the season were both completely different, but still, that is a bit to think about. But over the last few days, obviously, we've heard that potentially Jose Mourinho is now, he signed a pre-agreement to be the next Manchester United manager. Are you happy that this has been announced, that he could now be, it does look like almost a done deal now. Are you pleased with the news that hopefully now we can get rid of Louis van Gaal, and it might give us a lift for the rest of the season?
I'm pleased in the sense that it will put us back on the trophy map, almost certainly, because there's one thing that Jose Mourinho does. He wins trophies wherever he goes, and that is what United need right now. We've not won anything for a couple of years, and now we need someone to bring back the silverware, and I think Jose Mourinho will do that. The only concern I have with him is the youth that he doesn't seem to take any notice of. Now, United have got some brilliant players coming through: Rashford, Lingard, Fosu-Mensah, and I just think if Mourinho doesn't allow them to flourish, we'll have wasted a generation and a lot of hard work to produce these lads.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying there. He's definitely a winner. I mean, you look at the amount of league titles he's won. I think it's something like 8 in about 13 seasons or something. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. The trophies he's won, and I know what you're saying with the youth players, which we'll touch on a bit more in a minute. But at this moment in time, a lot of the Manchester United squad is quite young. So unless he goes out and buys a lot of players, I think a lot of these players that are in and around the team, he will use some of them at least. I'm not too. I'm a bit worried about some of the ones that haven't been given a chance yet. Obviously, the slightly younger ones like sort of Rocho Williams and players like that haven't actually been given a chance yet. I'm not too sure if Jose Mourinho will give them a chance, but obviously Louis van Gaal's had to give some of them a chance, the likes of Rashford, due to a lot of injuries and a lack in depth in squad. So obviously he's been forced into a bit. But does it concern you that if Jose Mourinho goes out and buys like maybe a world-class striker? There's been a few names been taught in the press the last few days. Higuain has been one of them, and Diego Costa's now being taught of a potential in the Metro, which I think is absolutely stupid. But are you worried that if we get maybe another world-class striker to come into Manchester United, that maybe it will push Marcus Rashford down the pecking order a bit too much, and he might not get the opportunities that he probably deserves right now?
What I will say to that is, Jose Mourinho has assured the Manchester United board, reportedly, that he will continue with the Manchester United traditions. So if that's true, then surely he's got to adopt the Sir Matt Busby mantra of if you're good enough, you are old enough. And the fact is, Marcus Rashford is good enough. So if Jose Mourinho feels that he's good enough, Marcus Rashford will play, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm hopeful that if Marcus Rashford can continue this great run of form that he's shown this season, then he will basically give Jose Mourinho no option, if he certainly is the manager next season, but to play him. I mean, there's some other really fantastic players, obviously, in and around the team, with the likes of Martial, Memphis Depay, and obviously you said Fosu-Mensah. Now, Fosu-Mensah is obviously getting a few part of games here and there, so hopefully here's another player. Hopefully, if he's in and around the squad, that Jose Mourinho can keep in and around the squad going into next season. Do you expect Jose Mourinho, because there's been talk that quite a lot of money could be spent in the summer, do you think that maybe he could potentially bring in 3 or 4 big name players in the summer, hopefully to boost the squad? Because it's been taught that we could spend 300 plus million on players in the summer. Do you think we actually need to spend that big games? We've spent so much over the last couple of seasons.
I think, first of all, we've got to look at the players that within that are good enough, and then identify the areas where we're not good enough. I think one of the areas we're not good enough is in central defence. I think Chris Smalling's been solid, but I don't think Daley Blind's an ideal partner for him. So I'd spend big there, but I certainly wouldn't spend big unnecessarily and in positions where we've already got world-class players. Like we spent money on Juan Mata, who has been a good performer for us, but we had other players who could have played there. So it's just a question of not throwing money at it when you have the necessary players within to take you where you want to go, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, personally, I thought with the Juan Mata signing, I thought it was more a statement of intent from David Moyes, because he couldn't get in the players he wanted in the previous transfer window in the summer, that he thought that he could make a statement by signing a big name player. And Juan Mata had just become available because Jose Mourinho didn't want him at Chelsea. So he obviously decided he wanted to go. And when Manchester United come available, obviously he wasn't going to turn it down. And we had a lot of players at that time that could play in the number 10 role. You look at Wayne Rooney, Yamatai could play there, Fellaini could play there, we had Kagawa, we had so many players that could play the number 10. I thought that it was more just taking up a position without actually going out and really strengthening a position that you actually need to strengthen. And sometimes I feel managers do that, just bringing players for the sake of it because they're available, which I do not want to see at Manchester United. If Jose Mourinho does come in next season, do you think this is the end for Ryan Giggs? Because obviously he's been in and around two managers who seem to have both failed, as in David Moyes and Louis van Gaal. Do you think now it's time for him to go, or do you think he should stay in some capacity, or even become maybe the manager still, because some people still want him?
My view on Giggs is the fact that the only club that he will be able to manage is Manchester United, and I think a lot of people agree with that. The reason being that he knows this club inside out, and it will be nigh on impossible for him to go elsewhere and get the same connection with the fans and the overall club that he has with it United. Do I want him to go? No, I think, and I do honestly think that Jose Mourinho will, as part of his contract, have to keep Ryan Giggs on. I think that's a good thing, because if you ever hear the guy talk about football, he knows what he's on about, and he should do, having played at the top level for 20 years. And the fact is, Ryan Giggs will only know if he's a top-class manager if he ever gets the job. And I think after Mourinho steadied the ship for 3 years, I think that'll be Ryan Giggs' time to come in and have the reins for himself. Yeah,
because some people are saying that he might want to go up, leave Manchester United now if he's not given the. Some people think that he feels it's the time for him to be given the manager's role now, because some people said that he was on role when Louis van Gaal ended after 3 years, but because obviously it's going to come to an end this summer, maybe we'll have to go off for a season. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I'm going to touch a bit more on the youth players now. We've seen a lot of obviously youth players play this season, and now obviously we've gone into an international break, but some are obviously coming through. I mean, Jesse Lingard looks like he's getting a call up now to the England squad because Raheem Sterling's out injured, which is great to see. Even though I think he still can improve, Jesse Lingard. We've seen a lot of good players. I don't know what your thoughts are. Do you, which players have really sort of stood out for you in the U team, and you've got any players that are coming through that you'd really like to see get a game between now and the end of the season?
Now this is an interesting one. United have a lot of up-and-coming players who don't get the recognition they deserve because of the spotlight on the first team. Now, I have an academy football website myself, and United do have some very good up-and-coming players. Sean Williams, who I think you mentioned, very good player. We've got obviously the first Mensah's come through. Will Keane's had a few glimpses, and I still think that Will Keane will be a good player. I know he's had his difficulties with injuries. We saw that at Shrewsbury. Josh Harrop, I think, is another good player. He's in that Mata mould. He's a bit more athletic and pacey. We've got Callum Gribbin, a winger. We've got Zach Durnley, another winger. So the future is definitely bright at Manchester United.
Well, you touched on Callum Gribbin. I don't know if you've seen too much of him this season, but I've heard from what some other people have seen the Manchester United youth teams play that he hasn't been performing that great this season. I don't know if you've watched him play this season.
I think he's reminded me of Memphis in a way because he's performed brilliantly in Europe. He's scored a few stunning free kicks. I don't know if you've seen him or not. And he's left a bit to be desired in the league. But at the end of the day, like Memphis, he's still a class act, regardless of whether he has a few bad games or even a bad season. Players shouldn't be judged on a few bad games. If Sir Alex Ferguson would have been judged on a few bad seasons, we'd have never have had all that success that we've known Manchester United on.
Because touching on one player that I know he's been mentioned a lot on Full-Time Devils by Stephen Harrison, Angel Gomez, and he's been saying that he thinks that he should be given a chance ahead of Callum Griffin, this season. I don't know if you've seen much of him. He's still only 15, but potentially, if Jose Mourinho comes in, it might hamper some of these players getting into the first team, because though he's only 15, potentially he's obviously going to, in a couple of years, maybe go up to the under-21s or just stay in the under-18s. But do you think maybe players like that coming through, it's going to hamper them if Jose Mourinho maybe comes into the Manchester United?
Will it hamper them? Well, in terms of first team chances, probably yes. But if they're good enough players and good enough characters, they'll learn to know that Mourinho won't be here for too long. And the fact is, if they put their head down and work hard at what they do, then they will get a chance, because we've seen that Mourinho does give chances to the exceptionally gifted. Ruben Loftus-Cheek being a prime example at Chelsea. He started to bring in Bertrand Traore for a couple of games there, who we've seen frighten a couple of Premier League defences, especially Man City, albeit a weakened one, in the FA Cup. So I think if the players are good enough, Mourinho will still give them a chance.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I'm sure I've said that on the Devil's Terrace and a few other channels in the past, that Mourinho did actually, I think, give Loftus-Cheek his debut. And although I'm personally not too sure if Loftus-Cheek is actually going to make it as a first-team regular at Chelsea, he's still given him his debut. And personally, I don't know what you think, but I think our youth team academy, because some people think that we've failed as a youth team a lot in the academy over the last sort of 8 to 10 years. But personally, I disagree, because we've seen a lot of players go out of the club. I know we've seen some players that have made the first team, the likes of Johnny Evans and obviously Darren Fletcher and even Danny Welbeck and Tom Cleverley. And personally, I still think that even if you're producing this calibre of player, I believe that the youth academy has worked, because they're going on and playing and helping Manchester United. Even in a number of games, these players have played for Manchester United, and then we're selling them on. Like with Danny Welbeck, I think we sold him for about 15 to 16 million pounds, which I think if you're getting them through the academy, you're not paying anything to bring them in, and then you're selling them on and they're going on to play for other top Premier League clubs. I still think that the academy's been a success. I don't know what you think about that, because you're not going to produce another Ryan Giggs or another George Best through the academy, because them sort of players just don't grow on trees, do they?
Well, what I think in regards to this is that compared to what went before with Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, David Beckham and Nicky Butt, what happened afterwards was always going to be a failure. No matter how good the players were, compared to the ones that went before, they were never going to be of that standard. And I don't think we'll ever see that many lads come through the youth team together and be of that standard ever again. So has it been a failure? Well, if you look at players like Cleverley, who haven't quite made the grade, but we've sold for decent money, then I think it has. Look at the players that have gone through, like Danny Welbeck. Although I don't rate him personally, he's got through the first team, and the fact is we brought this many players through to the first team, and if they weren't good enough, they wouldn't get a chance. To say that the academy has failed, I completely disagree with.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's been a success, and with the fact that there's so many promising players that I know full-time Devils. I know Stephen Howson covers a lot of the youth on full-time Devils and that, and talks about a lot of players that are coming through, and is praising a lot of the youth players. It does give me encouragement for the future, because you can't always go out and spend big money. And I personally think that other clubs should take up giving a few more youngsters a chance. You know, you look at even teams like Arsenal now, they're not giving as many youngsters a chance as they used to give. You look at the likes of Manchester City and Chelsea, none of them really, I mean, as you touched on, that Jose Mourinho give Loftus-Cheek and that a go. No one else has really given, if you look at all the managers Chelsea have had under the Russian owner, none of them have given any youth players a try. And I just think that everyone's too scared to now, because it's a results game, and owner and club seems to want the instant success, and they're too afraid to blood a few youngsters through. And it only seems to be, I mean, Southampton have had some good youngsters come through, but they've been almost a mid-table to just a bit below mid-table team, and they haven't really got the pressures of winning the Premier League season after season, which allows them to maybe blood a few extra youngsters. Do you think that a lot of teams should take more this route rather than just keep buying players for the sake of it? Because some of the youngsters in England are actually still decent, but they're just never given the chance, are they?
Well, as you said, they buy players for the sake of it. I don't think they buy players for the sake of it. But having said that, if a team is going for the title, it's a lot of money. And for the same principle, if a team is challenging for promotion to the Premier League, it's a lot of money. And is it worth risking on a player who might only make you 20 million for a £50 million reward? That's what these owners see. And in terms of their view, it's not worth it, is it? It might be worth it for the fans to see a player who's one of your own, like Marcus Rashford, come through and do well. But for the owner, there's no personal pride. It's just, oh, this lad, it hasn't cost me anything. That's all it is for them. And that's why I think the magnitude of yesterday for United and Rashford was massive, because for a Mancunian lad to score the winner in the Manchester derby, having made such a positive start, he could sell, but will that affect the Glazers if he doesn't go for that much, if he fizzles out? Yeah, I don't think it'll matter to them. Will he become another Federico Makeda or another Adnan Januzaj, kicked to the curb, if we don't look after him? Because that's what United have done with a lot of players.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are a bit hesitant to take the risk on players because obviously, like you said, Makeda didn't come off. There are players that obviously haven't come off, but this is a risks game, and sometimes you've got to take a risk and give the players a chance, because someone's got to give them a chance somewhere across Europe. Otherwise, they're never going to get their chance. Although people seem to want to go for a foreigner now who's cost 60, 70 million, but I don't know if they're always going to be the better option. Have you got any more thoughts you want to say before we finish on anything we've discussed?
I'd just like to mention something on yesterday, actually. I thought that when Morgan Schneiderlin came into the team instead of Marouane Fellaini, he looked absolutely fantastic because he was aggressive, he won the ball, he had an eye for a pass, the odd hasty pass, which is typical of Schneiderlin. But the guy's got a footballing brain, unlike Marouane Fellaini, the tree, as he's been nicknamed by many people, including me. And the fact is, he's that calming influence, like we've seen Schweinsteiger do, but he's got the legs to go along with it. And I think Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin would be the perfect combination because they've both got a brain. Schneiderlin's got the legs, Schweinsteiger's got the passing vision. I just think those two in a combination would be absolutely perfect for the rest of this season. That's all I've got to say.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Schneiderlin will be a fantastic player. And I think if Jose Mourinho does come in, I think he will really get the best out of him, because that's the type of player I think Jose Mourinho really does like at a football club. And he's really got to start playing ahead of Marouane Fellaini. I don't really understand Louis van Gaal's philosophy, because he brought him to the club. He spent big money on him. And to be honest, I think all the signings really...
David Moyes brought him to the club.
Oh, well, all the signings that... Oh, yeah, Marouane Fellaini did, yeah. But all the signings that Louis van Gaal has made, he hasn't really treated very well, apart from the odd one like Martial, which really is a bit disappointing. You even look at the likes of Darmian and that he's put in and out the team, which is a bit of a concern for me going ahead, because you don't know whether it's going to be Schweinsteiger or Schneiderlin or Carrick or Fellaini from week to week, which is a bit of a worry for me. Anyway, thanks to everyone for watching. Make sure to like the video. Also check out Tommy on MUFC Fan TV. is his Twitter, and check him out on YouTube. Make sure to go over there and subscribe to him. And we will try and be back for another video. We'll try and get some more live video and content out for you again soon. So until next time, hopefully Manchester United continue to play well, and we'll talk to you all again soon.
Up the Reds.